Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Sonia.
Okay.
Not again. F.
Gabriel, which of these two do you think is okay? The selection that I'm talking about. Please read. Would like to mark. We're bright, Lord.
In the guidelines for effective classroom management provided by the author Maria Teresa Calderon, she mentioned that the classroom management is one of the most important roles played by teachers because it determines teaching success. Regardless of the degree of variability in their classes, excellent teachers appear to be effective with students of all achievement levels. The functions that have to be performed by an effective teacher entail crafting the most effective instructional strategies, designing a classroom curriculum that facilitates student learning, and implementing rules and regulations. From the observed demonstration, we noticed that the teacher exploited instructional strategies that are effective, such as the questioning method, a good technique to put students in the tight grip of the discussion, which stimulates for students to learn. The teacher also used a curriculum design that caters to the collective needs of students that do not depend on the given textbooks when it comes to discipline, and the students seem controlled and docile. This may be a result of a good imposition of disciplinary conduct by the teacher. Why is it necessary to establish effective classroom management? According to the author Calderon, effective practice of classroom management techniques can dramatically decrease the disruptions in your classes. Students have achievement higher than students in classes where effective management techniques are not employed. In the demonstration video, there were no disruptions observed. The teacher was effective in making the class corroborated with how she manages it. The students also seemed agile in giving inputs and sharing their thoughts, which justifies the overall management. With the guidelines provided by the teacher, the class went well accordingly. There is a harmonious organization and everything is placed in the right position. When the teacher asks, the student answers. When the student raises a hand, then the teacher recognizes.
Next to discuss in an effective classroom management is the rules and procedures. Rules and procedures are just one of the important things that a classroom should have. Without rules and procedures, the classroom would be chaotic and disorganized. Having a chaotic learning environment can disrupt the learning processes of the students. Thus, the students need to know those rules and understand why they must follow those rules. In the sample video, the teacher designed rules and regulations that the students must follow through the entire discussion. In the video, it is safe to say that the rules for the general expectations for behavior is that the students must behave in class, avoid unnecessary noises, and participate well on the discussion. In beginning and ending the period, the students do not forget to greet the teacher and the visitors present on the discussion. They stand up, greet the teacher properly, and they will turn around to face the visitors to also greet them. In doing the group work, usually when the teacher says to the class to go to their respective groups, it would be the start of the disorder in classroom management since students are scrambling to go to their respective groups. However, in the video, the students quietly went to their respective groups and did their group works accordingly. The materials and equipment they used while doing the group work was taken back to their respective places, and throughout the group work, the teacher was facilitating the students and the progress they have made or if they have any question about the task. All in all, there were no interruptions during the discussion and the lesson went well since the students followed the classroom rules and regulations.
Students' involvement in the design and implementation of classroom rules and procedures is essential for effective classroom management. Ma'am Noime began the class by greeting the students. The students' response and actions demonstrated that there was a negotiation on how they should greet the teacher and visitors, which is to stand up, greet the teacher and visitors in unison, and then be seated. Another thing is how students behave when it comes to participating and cooperating in the discussion. Students would pay close attention, raise their hands when they wanted to answer, stand up when called, and show respect to their classmates who were reciting. Although the rules and procedures that students should follow were not articulated at this specific class, it could be concluded that the rules and procedures were established and students were involved simply by observing their behavior in the class. In terms of addressing a specific behavior, consequences and punishment are two separate things. Consequences are employed in the classroom to respond to a student's actions. consequences can be positive or negative, with positive consequences for appropriate behavior and negative consequences for inappropriate behavior. Punishment, on the other hand, is intended to get even with the student. Ma'am Noime demonstrated the first type of consequence in the video, which is a positive consequence for appropriate behavior that reinforces the student's actions. She recognizes her students' responses and gives positive feedback, such as saying "that's right" or "very good" after the class answers her question. After each group presents their task, Ma'am Noime uploads all of their efforts and informs them of the outcome of their performances.
As Rita Pearson noted in her famous TED Talk, kids aren't going to learn from someone they don't like. Relationships between teachers and students are considered a quintessential part of the student's academic and social success. Everyone can point to a teacher who made a difference in his or her life, and also to one who made life miserable for a short time. Why? Because the teacher-student relationship is at the heart of teaching. I was extremely impressed with the way Ma'am Noime handled her class. Her energy from start to finish was very consistent, which I think is admirable. The discussion was able to transition smoothly because she never forgot to give feedback to each student who participated, and she only began something new when everyone was ready. I particularly liked how she always asked opinions from both boys and girls. The active participation or the active role of her students in the discussion, which was highly encouraged by her, gave them ownership and demonstrated their commitment to learn. When it comes to getting a good start, tweets are very common nowadays, and I think it's something that Ma'am Noime students can relate to, which is why it was a wise and effective decision to use it in kickstarting the lesson. Her students demonstrated their respect for her and for the visitors by greeting them warmly. She was clearly prepared for class because she knew how to transition the main points of the lesson. A classroom needs to start off as a well-managed class from the beginning, and I think she nailed it perfectly.
Hello, this is Teacher Liza, and I will be discussing the following terms. Classroom management styles. What is a classroom management styles? According to Indeed editorial team in 2021, a classroom management styles are methods and best practices that teachers use to maximize students' learning and engagement. It is important to understand teaching and leadership techniques so we can best and effectively represent ourselves to our students. In the video demonstration, the teacher style is an authoritative approach to teaching. The teacher has the high control yet high involvement as well. The students are highly encouraged for participation and collaboration. The teacher also values students' input and feedback on how they feel about their learning environment and ideas that can be incorporated to make it better. Moreover, the students are not afraid to contribute and take risks. Therefore, students thrive and show growth in all areas. Characteristics of effective behavior managers. Effective behavior management is based on the teacher's ability to successfully create a well-managed, structured classroom environment so that learning can occur. In the video observation, both the teacher and the learners exhibited a positive learning culture towards each other. They respect each other's strengths and weaknesses and exhibit high degrees of empathy and self-efficacy.
Hi, I am Teacher Noem, and in this part of our presentation, I am going to talk about the behaviors teachers exhibit that contribute to successful classroom management and the golden virtues. The teaching strategy of Ma'am Noemi is very much commendable. She exhibits an ideal behavior of a teacher. And as a future educator, she is someone I really aspire to be. She is eloquent, knowledgeable, confident, and affectionate. With the way she teaches, it's clearly easy to tell that she really loves her profession. Ma'am Noemi was successful in integrating both traditional and modern teaching, and she is really good on providing feedback. She doesn't say anything negative and detrimental to the students and encourage them even more to improve and continue doing their best. In teaching English, especially if the language is not the vernacular of the students, it's very considerate of Ma'am Noemi to discuss the unfamiliar words first, but allowing the students at the same time to come up with the meaning through the reinforcement of context clues. But what I think should be improved is the inclusion of all the students in the discussion. It was quite obvious that there are at least only 5 to 8 students who constantly engage in the discussion, which is quite disappointing. Maybe because it's an evaluation setup for the lesson to be smooth sailing, the teacher allows only a few of the students to participate instead of including everyone. But if it's a normal day-to-day class, the teacher should always engage all of the students to participate to assess their learning. Ma'am Noemi is also spot on in terms of the golden virtue. She is patient, she allows the students to come up with their own understanding, she is determined, but the selection of the activity, the flow of the lesson, the sequence of the lesson is carefully treaded on to the students' advantage. And lastly, she is very much consistent. The energy, direction, and attention is very steady from beginning till the end.
Okay, so let me check first. As a teacher assistant, I can be of help in checking the attendance of the students right at every start of the classes. I can call them one by one and recognize their faces, so at least I could familiarize them and create somehow a bonding connection. By this means, not just that I can help ease the teacher's task in this little way, but also I am helping myself to get used to seeing students' faces and get aware of the feeling of being in charge.
The assistant teacher is filling out forms as well as organizing depth forms.
Now class, before the lesson starts, I am going to tell you the classroom rules in which you are bound to follow. If I am or the teacher is talking, you should listen very well and avoid talking to your seatmate, okay? Second, you should be participative on our discussion so that there will be a collaborative learning in this classroom. Lastly, before and after the lesson, you should pick up the trash near you and throw it at the trash can so that we would start and end our discussion with cleanliness. Now, these rules are to be posted on our bulletin board so that you won't forget to follow. Stating the rules and regulations before the class starts will help the students behave and will also help the teacher in charge to manage the classroom well. Lastly, to make the students follow the rules, they should hear the reasons why they must follow the rules. They have to understand that to keep the classroom from a chaotic and disorganized learning environment.
Okay, now that we are through with the discussion of Daedalus and Icarus, do you have any more questions, clarifications, or negative reaction? None? Okay, so get one whole sheet of paper and answer activity 1. Number 1. Participation actively engages students with the subject matter. That is why, after the lesson, it's a must for the teachers to conduct an activity in relation to the topic. The teacher can have a quiz, brainstorming activity, role play, or graded recitation. It's really up to the teacher in charge. Did you get it? Okay, proceed.
Checking students' output may take time because there are several students and a teacher is looking for monitoring. So, an assistant teacher will be a great help in assisting the teacher in collecting and checking the students' output. If the teacher gives formative or summative assessment, for example, to the students, I could help reduce the teacher's workload by volunteering to check the students' papers or outputs. Also, if there is a project that requires students to submit their work by a certain deadline, I could assist in organizing the students' work and determining whether or not all of them met the deadline. I could even arrange their output in alphabetical order to make it easier for the teacher to record their grades. Finally, if there are group activities, I could assist the teacher by going over each group to check their progress and possibly clarify the teacher's instruction. As an assistant teacher, I could collect their group outputs and them over to the teacher for evaluation.
As a teacher assistant, I can be of help by cutting or designing instructional materials that will be utilized for the discussion of the current lesson. These instructional materials will help bring life to learning by stimulating students to learn. This can help the teacher have more time in preparing the key points for the lesson of the day. Students will be able to remember the lesson more if they are provided with specific visual examples, especially if they are eye-catching or it piques their interest.